Good afternoon, and thank you for watching Keeping History on Two Wheels, where we bring you the tiny snippets of history that make the bigger stories a little bit more complete. It's hard to tell it because of the way everything is overgrown here, but in 1959, this was kind of a happening little spot. It was a very well-known swimming hole right off the Ogeechee River here in Meldrim, Georgia. So today, we're going to take a look at the Seaboard Airline Railway incident that happened in Meldrim, Georgia in 1959 that took the lives of 24 people. If you like this video, subscribe right here. It's the little red button. Don't forget to hit the bell button over here so that you'll know when we do an upload every week. Let's roll.
This thing was on, wasn't it? I hope so.
The Seaboard Airline Railroad began on April 14, 1900 and ran independently until its merger with Atlantic Coastline Railroad in July of 1967. They had rail lines from New York to Miami, Memphis to Charlotte, and New Orleans to Jacksonville, Florida, and all points in between. They ran both freight and passenger trains, which they called the Orange Blossom Special. But it was their freight line that took its route from Atlanta to Macon, then through Statesboro, into Meldrim, and on to Savannah. Today, we're in Meldrim, Georgia, and it's an unincorporated community in the Effingham County, just 17 miles northwest of Savannah. It's named after Peter Meldrim, who was a 19th century politician, judge, and army officer who died in 1933. He was born in Savannah in 1848. Peter Meldrim was an attorney who was pivotal in the expansion of African Americans' access to education as chairman of the Georgia State Commission on the Education of Colored People. He was elected mayor of Savannah in the late 1890s, and he was the president of the Georgia Bar Association in 1904 and became chairman of the American Bar Association Committee on the Jurisprudence and Law Reform. He also served as president of the American Bar Association. The population of Meldrim really hasn't changed much over the years. It's only got 162 people that live within its boundaries. According to zipcode.org, the population density of Meldrim is broken down to 145 Caucasians, 9 African Americans, 4 Hispanics, and 2 Asians, and 3 Indians. I don't know why, but I just found these numbers to be odd. Just on the outskirts of Meldrim is the Ogeechee River. The Ogeechee River stretches 294 miles long, starting at Crawfordville, Georgia, and following generally in a southeast direction, it ends in Ossabaw Sound, just 16 miles south of Savannah. The Ogeechee runs from the Piedmont across the fall line and into Sand Hills area, then across the Georgia Plain to the Atlantic. From a shallow, clear running stream with several shoals, rapids, and small falls at the shoals, it then becomes a lazy, meandering channel through beautiful cypress swamps and miles of undeveloped forest. If you ever want to take a beautiful, lazy boat ride or canoe ride, this is your river, with countless swimming holes throughout its course. And it's at this swimming hole in Meldrim, Georgia, where it meets the old Seaboard Railroad Trestle that today's story takes place. Number 82, an eastbound second-class freight train, consisted of 3 diesel engines and 123 cars and a caboose. The train departed Americus at 7 a.m. That was 4 hours and 15 minutes late. The train then made a stop in Vidalia, and when the train departed Vidalia, it was 1:30 p.m., which was 4 hours and 55 minutes late. Then it made another stop in Collins, just east of Vidalia, and 42.5 miles west of the point of the accident, where the 21st car was set out of the train because of an overheated journal. It then proceeded eastward, and while moving at an estimated speed of 45 to 49 miles per hour, when it reached the Ogeechee River in Meldrim, the 107th to the 122nd car, inclusive, were derailed at a point approximately 117 feet west of the east end of the trestle spanning the river. The 113th and the 114th cars were tank cars loaded with liquid petroleum gas, and as they fell to the ground, the coupler of the 114th car penetrated the tank head of the 113th car. The liquid petroleum gas was emitted as a gas from the ruptured tank head of the 113th car and blanketed the surrounding area. The gas was ignited from an unknown source, which produced a flash fire extending over the surrounding area. A subsequent fire resulted from the flash fire, igniting the derailed equipment, destroying the trestle east of the collapsed portion, and damaging 375 feet of the trestle immediately west of the collapsed portion. The tank and the contents of the 114th car were heated by the fire, and the lading expanded, increasing the pressure in the tank until it was released by the safety valve. The gas emitted from the safety valve was immediately ignited. 10 of the derailed cars were destroyed, 4 were heavily damaged, and 4 were somewhat damaged. 23 persons who were bathing or picnicking in the area adjacent to the trestle were killed or died from injuries received as a result of the fire. The flagman of number 82 and 6 other persons were injured as a result of the fire. The conductor and the engineer testified that prior to the accident, they had made frequent observations of the train en route, and with the exception of the car with the overheated journal, which was set out of the train at Collins, they saw no indication of any other defective condition of the equipment. The engineer did not observe any defective track conditions prior to the derailment, and the conductor said that as the rear end of the train approached the east end of the Ogeechee River Trestle, he saw cars ahead of the caboose derail and fall from the trestle. When the caboose stopped, he said he observed through the windows of the caboose that gas was emitting from one of the derailed tank cars and was covering the surrounding area, and he became concerned. He said that the flagman and he immediately proceeded to the rear platform of the caboose where they could observe people in the river along the south side of the trestle. The flagman alighted from the caboose to the trestle, and the conductor stood on the rear platform, and they shouted warnings to the people in the river in the adjacent areas. The conductor said that almost immediately afterward, the escaping gas became ignited and the flash fire resulted. The flagman jumped into the river, and the conductor turned inside the caboose, closed the windows and doors, and remained there until the fire subsided. The members of the crew on the locomotive were unaware of anything being wrong until the brakes of the train became applied in an emergency. The forward portion of the train stopped with the locomotive about 560 feet east of the station at Meldrim. The engineer said that he thought a broken air hose had caused the emergency application of the brakes until he observed the smoke resulting from the fire. An official of the carrier said that as a matter of policy, guardrails are not provided on the track structures laid over bridges on this railroad, although no reason was advanced for such a policy. However, this practice does not conform with the recommendations of the Engineering Division of the Association of American Railroads concerning the use of guardrails on track structures laid on bridges. If the track structure on the Ogeechee River Trestle had been provided with guardrails, it is probable that the derailed equipment would not have fallen off the trestle. The ICC found the derailment was caused by deflection of the rails on the trestle under the moving train as a result of excessive compression due to the movement of the rails and expansion. This movement being restricted by the securely anchored rails at the east end of the trestle. The flash fire resulted from the ignition of gas emitted from the ruptured tank of one of the derailed cars after the car had fallen from the bridge. They also found that if the track structure on the trestle had been provided with guardrails, it is probable that the derailed cars would not have fallen from the trestle.